What is your favorite form of learning? That's my question for you today is how do you like to learn so that you can understand what's happening and then be able to apply it in your own business and see things grow? From a marketing perspective, this can be incredibly challenging with how quickly things are evolving and changing, and knowing that you spent your time in a good way can be really difficult sometimes to figure out. In today's episode of Tactics Marketing, I want to break down how you can spend the best part of your day creating content that will last for a really long time and also create a massive benefit to your business, whether that's building your personal brand, running your own small local business, or a large organization that communicates with customers every single day. This is the way that we've started to create content. Actually, it's not started to create content. It's something that we did a long time ago. And I think the opportunity really goes back to understanding that you have an authentic voice and you understand more about your business than anyone else. And you're operating your business and your customers trust you, and that gives you authority in your space. The fact that you've opened up a business, the fact that you're talking about a subject that you're passionate about makes you an expert. And communicating that with other people who can buy things from you is really important because that means you've got the ability, they have the ability to get something of value from you. So I'm going to keep this really open so that this can apply to anybody who has a website. Starting when our first website went live, and this is back in 2006, we wanted to capture moments that were happening within the events that we were running. Primarily, it was with a basketball league as well as with trade shows. And those things meant that at that time, people really wanted more content online, but it wasn't as easy to capture it as it was now because not everyone had a smartphone with them. Having a photographer with a DSLR camera was a complete game changer instead of being able to capture every single moment. And so I want you to start to get into that mode first as we take this kind of journey 20 years back. And as we were documenting these things, these photos were a really great way for us to start building not only reputation, but also being able to just build our own brand by seeing people change their Facebook photos to our photos that we'd taken of them at a specific event. Having the watermark in the corner meant that our brand started gaining reputation and people started recognizing what they were doing, where they were doing it, and who they were doing with, because they typically didn't have a photo that was readily available to switch out their profile picture. This was long before the days of selfies. As we started creating more content, coming with those photos so that we could rank better was a blog post, something that explained what was in the photo gallery. Our biggest hack was being able to use Flickr and being able to create galleries of photos that documented what we did and how we did it. And being able to show that we had the ability to really explain the best parts of experiences happening at any event that we hosted. The benefit of this, and the reason that I'm bringing it up, was that content authentically represented what was happening through the photos and then explained the photos through the words. Yes, a picture's worth 1,000 words, but in some cases, the words are required to give context of what the photo actually means. And that's where we started creating our own blogging formula that led to a lot of growth. So if we fast forward to 2009 and 2010, I was actually running a couple of different blogs that were my side project, but they started kind of putting me through college because we figured out how to monetize them. And the format for how those blog posts were created stood the test of time. Not only did they start growing our reputation, not only did they start gaining more traffic, but they also didn't lose ranking as Google updates changed. And that's because we took a concierge approach to how we wanted to rank for Google. We want to be able to be in a place that the relevance that could be given to our blog posts meant that our websites would do better because it was easier to recommend. So many things have changed. Even that was 15 years ago. But we knew one thing. As there was more content that was being created and the volume was going up and it was easier to blog more than ever before, the most easiest time to create a website, those barriers were gone. Anybody could do it. Anybody could turn around tomorrow and have their own website. The difference was a lot of that content wasn't very good. Quantity versus quality. Quality won. That format was something that we also used to start turning into a lot of different content for different platforms. The reason for that was the structure of how the blog posts were written. And I'm sure you can remember this time of everything being a top 10, top five, a collection of items. So the way that we created this was designed to have a starting point, which would give you an in-depth article about a particular topic, go through 5 or 10 of those, and then be able to group them for a particular reason to rank them as a top five, a top 10, or within the 10 posts that you've written, giving a summary or a highlight reel of the 3 or 4 that are best or that fall into a certain category. The idea there was that it gave you an opportunity to go deeper into the topic by clicking through from that list and getting into the meat and potatoes. Within this, it created an opportunity for us to leverage a lot of different platforms, create social media content out of that by having a lot of different snippets. And it meant that we could start doing things more visually, designing different graphics that could go on Pinterest that showed a summary of what was there with a click and a link back to be able to read the whole article. And this was a great way to create content. In fact, it was so impressive that this is probably one of the most requested webinars that I've given over the years. It's been a workshop that I've done for tens of different companies of how they can create content for themselves. And we turned it into an online course. And I think that content is still relevant today. That's why people are still buying it and taking the content and making their own online blogs and written content and social media strategies so that it can improve them. I'll leave a link below, but that's not really what this video is about. This video is about how that process showed the gap between being a fluent speaker in English and being a native speaker in English. And the difference with that comes down to vernacular. It comes down to understanding relevance within an industry. And in the last video, we talked about all of the acronyms that happen in just marketing agency land. And the same is true within any industry that you're working in. Your expertise that you have comes through because you use the right language. It has nothing to do with you being fluent in the language. It has to do with you being fluent in the language of your industry. And we saw that this was something that really showed who was creating content as the authority in the space and as the owner in the space and as somebody who actually understood things versus outsourcing content to the lowest possible option that's out there. The difference was passion. The difference was expertise. And now as we're moving forward, and the reason that I'm encouraging more of you to be able to create more content that talks about your brand is because of how much value it actually brings. We're still in that phase of authentic voice winning the conversation, regardless of AI being able to do more information and create content and with the right prompts be able to write amazing blog posts. Yes, that's true, but it doesn't include the right authority that's included as somebody with an authentic voice. And so that's why we've taken that content machine of writing and social media production and turned it into the content waterfall of starting with blog posts and videos, because that's where you then have the authentic voice also being represented by you being on camera, you being recorded, and being able to have that then filter into your blog posts. The difference that this makes by having something that is authentically you and connected to your business goals, talking about the nuances, answering the questions that customers have, is completely different. Now, for some of you smart people who've been out there and subscribed to us for a while, you'll kind of get an idea of that's why I'm doing this myself. We've created hundreds and thousands of blog posts over the years that were written and generated by our team, research topics. And now we're starting to take the approach that's required in order to have that level of authenticity doubled up. This is a video you might be watching because you just had a sales call with me. And that's awesome. I'm glad you stuck around and listened to this and you're interested even more about what we talked about, because this is our core package as an agency, but it's something that any of you can do. And so I encourage you to get into it and start doing more. We're going to be releasing more tools and more resources for you to be able to do all of this yourself. But as of right now, here's the simple formula. It's a camera, a microphone, and you. And that's it. What you do with that content afterwards doesn't have to be repurposed to the position that we do, where you're creating blog posts and newsletter, a bunch of social media content, as well as being able to have a PR campaign that's behind it. That is the best case scenario, but it's not the only scenario. Getting something done now and being able to start recording if you don't feel like writing is the right thing to do for your business. And so take advantage of what we've learned over almost 20 years now of creating content online and make it something that impacts your business. Writing about the things in this particular order or creating content in this particular order. Number one, start with things that are timeless content. Whether somebody is reading it today or reading it 2 years from now, it's still going to be relevant for your business. This could be something as simple as, what kind of lens would you use on a camera? Well, it depends on the situation. Are you shooting inside, outside? Is it far away? Is it close up? Are you filming? Are you recording? Are you taking photos? That's something that isn't going to change. The second is creating content that has a seasonal approach so that you've got a longer shelf life and it will repeat itself each year. So you've got timeless content, number one. Number two, you've got seasonal content. The seasonal content might be something like for an auto manufacturer, maintenance to have for your car before you're going into wintertime, particularly with tires or with antifreeze so that your car continues to run no matter what the temperature is. Or if you're looking at home maintenance of what to do when it's spring to make sure that your home is nice and ready and cleaned up after the cold, nasty weather of the winter. Those things are going to be timeless every season for the years to come. And then lastly, talk about number three, things that have a limited short life. This is also known as the news. It's something that you know is based on a specific spot in time. And that would be, if we go back to that camera example, a specific model that just came out. Well, that isn't going to be relevant for any longer than that being the latest model. That could be a couple months, that could be a couple days, that could be a couple years. You don't know, and that's kind of the point. You don't know how long you can last on that content and rely on that content to be relevant for your business. We've seen this strategy work for every kind of business with different ROIs that they're looking to accomplish. You can set goals in your business for automation and efficiency and saving resources that are being taken away from other places. But the point is, start creating content now. All right, that's it for today, and we will check in again in tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching.